Hey guys, this video is going to be about calorie tracking. So what I've done is I've filmed all the food that I've put into my pan for my scrambled eggs, and I've shown you the process in weighing it, and then I've shown you the process of me entering it into MyFitnessPal. So this is hopefully going to help you to, number one, just see how calorie tracking is inconvenient, but it doesn't take that long. You weigh everything, you put it in the pan. For other meals, it might be a little bit trickier, but at the end of the day, this is how you calorie track. You have to weigh it, don't eyeball it. We have to be somewhat meticulous with it, otherwise we may as well just guess the calories. You have to be in a calorie deficit for fat loss. I don't know how many times I've said that. Calorie tracking is the easiest way to do it because it's the best guarantee that you're in a deficit. There's no other way that is easier. There are some ways that are really convenient in the ways that you don't have to track and weigh everything, but it's not a guarantee, not like calorie tracking is. I think also understand that your deficit has to change. As you get lighter, you're going to require less and less calories. And then other things might come into effect when you're really kind of scraping the barrel with your calories, if you're still wishing for fat loss, where we might need to implement a lot more step counting to contribute to your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, energy output, and other such things. So do understand that these calories will change as you go through the next few months of a calorie deficit. The way they will change is based on what is happening with your body. So what I often say is, if we're seeing the progress that we want at a rate at which we want, probably don't need to change the calories just yet. If we're not seeing the results that we want, perhaps we haven't quite found where our calorie deficit is, so drop the amount by 5%, 10%, or around 100 to 200 calories. Go another month, track, see what happens, and it's a case of rinse and repeat. I think that's everything. Now I'll show you me cooking and weighing everything out and then entering it into MyFitnessPal. So this is me weighing out my food, zeroing the scales, looking at some eggs. I'm gonna pop those in. There we go, 127 grams of eggs. Zero that. Weighing the bread. Alright, pop that down. I realise I'm going to cut some off, so it's not 55, it's 50. I'm weighing everything. That's the idea. We're not eyeballing any of this. Alright, I'm already cooking my mushrooms and my onions. This is me attempting to weigh out the butter, and this didn't really work so well. As you can see, it didn't clock it, not even the second time. So I had to eyeball that. I think I eyeballed it at about 10 grams. Not ideal, but there you go. Alright, that's me zeroing it. That's 28 grams of goat's cheese there. This is me zeroing it for the sun-dried tomatoes. 38 grams of that. Weighing out the ketchup. I'm being meticulous here. This is me now entering all of that into MyFitnessPal. So if you haven't used this before, this is going to hopefully help you. So I entered eggs myself. Using the nutritional information off of Google, hence why I've named it real egg, because it was a couple grams out on some of its macros, I think, but I'll show you how to enter foods in, create foods later. So yeah, it's fairly simple. You just got to search for the food. I've pre-scanned all of these. So again, if you haven't used MyFitnessPal, you can scan the barcodes, up comes the food. Generally speaking, they're right, but do double check, and I'll show that later in this video. This was really difficult to film and enter everything, so I hope you appreciate that. Alright, entering the onion, so if I remember that was 50. There we go. As you can see, very low in calories. So far I've got the bread and the onions. That's come to 299 calories. What am I entering here? We've got the goat's cheese going in. This will probably add a fair bit of calories to it. Okay, obviously I got bored there.
you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully this will give you the idea of how to use MyFitnessPal. So this is me about to scan sun-dried tomatoes just to show you how to use it. There we go. Alright, up comes all the macros. Always look at the serving size per 100 grams. I'm changing it to 1 gram so I can enter in, I think it was 38, wasn't it? So I always change it to serving size 1 gram and then enter the grammage. This is me just comparing, look, all the macros were correct. Good to double check. Okay, so I'm about to create the food eggs. So going to create food, per 100 grams is 155 calories. So I'm going back to Safari, the internet browser, double checking the macros for total carbohydrates. Obviously eggs, they're going to be really low, 1.1. Double check what the protein says, 13. Back to MyFitnessPal. So you slowly enter it in, and this just means you're going to be entering the correct macros, the correct calories. So it's always good to double check here and there what the label says. And you can always Google and you'll get a rough idea. Some things will have discrepancies, but these discrepancies are very insignificant, generally speaking, so that's fine. Polyunsaturated going in. Sometimes you can't enter all of these details, but I happen to be able to do that on this example. Monounsaturated going in now. There it is.
Okay, so hopefully you got an idea there of what to do. It's pretty straightforward. So download MyFitnessPal and weigh everything, enter it in. If you haven't scanned it already, obviously scan the item. If it's incorrect, make the food, Google the nutrition if you need to. Once you've done that with your usual food choices, it becomes even more convenient because you don't have to scan it, you don't have to create the food. That's that. You weigh it, you enter it in, now you know what calories you've eaten. Now you know, are you in a calorie deficit? If you are, fantastic. If you're not, take away that 100, 200 calories, that 5 or 10%, rinse and repeat, check in 4 weeks' time what has happened. You've tracked your progress. That's all you need to do. Once you get proficient with just tracking calories, then you can start looking at other things, and that's where we can start talking about your macros. The most important macro that I would get people to look at once they've understood their calorie intake is protein. So we want to have a minimum amount of that. Then we can start making sure we're not having too little fat. So for females, I wouldn't suggest going under, I think about, off the top of my head now, I think it's 30%. For males, I wouldn't go under 20% of your calorie intake via fat. And then after that, it's just preference from carbs and fat. Making sure you've got that minimum amount of protein coming in. And depending on your calorie intake will depend on how much fat and carbs you will have after you've taken the calories away using that minimum amount of protein. So when I say minimum amount, it wouldn't go beneath 1.6 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. This depends on your goals. So if you are looking to lose fat, I would suggest a higher intake in protein, up to, I've seen suggestions of 2.9 grams per kilo of body weight, which is really quite a vast amount. I would probably more realistically aim for about 2.2, that sort of region. If you're looking to put on muscle, I would actually go towards the lower end of the scale there, towards the 1.6 grams that I mentioned earlier. I hope all of that has helped. Thanks for watching.